Christopher. That's awesome. All right, everybody. Good morning. Let me stop share. All right. Well, you guys can't hear any music anyway, can you? I think it stopped already. Okay. Good morning. I'm happy to see everybody here because, right, this weather starts getting rough this time of year, doesn't it? And I just want to take 2 seconds because as your mornings get darker, it is going to get harder to get yourself up and going, and your time block means more than anything from now until the end of the year. Okay. Here's the other thing that we're talking about right now is Sarah, you and I just had this conversation yesterday. If your intention is to have a time block of a specific schedule to start in January, you've got to block that now, right? Because you're going to have stuff come up that you're going to be ready to schedule in January already, and your time block has to be set for that. So go ahead and start living it now. Okay, this is not the time to take your foot off the gas. It is the time to push harder. Okay, Christopher just said business is coming in, right? Winter, November, December, January, February were my biggest months outside of spring. So we went spring, winter, then summer. Okay. So it is out there. The business is there to be had. Keep on it. Don't take your foot off the gas right now, and let's go, go, go. Okay. So this morning, we are going to do a script that I realized is not written in our script book. Okay. So this could be fun and it could be a complete disaster. So I'm just going to put you guys, right? Because what we're going to do is do it today. You are going to see kind of live role play, okay, of some objections that aren't written yet. And you can kind of see how I handle them, how I go at them. And then, of course, I'll take them backwards and make them right and sound good and what you guys need in the script book for that, okay? And what we're going to role play today is something I think you're needing a lot of. And some of the ladies on before everybody got on confirmed it. We are going to talk about pricing objections. Okay. So that means you have a price and the seller either wants higher or lower than the price you went in suggesting. Okay. And how do you have the conversation to get them back reasonable? But here's the bigger thing, to set the expectations of whatever strategy they're choosing, they at least know exactly what they're in for. And they're making the decision based on educated information. Okay. Does that sound good? Does that sound helpful to you guys today? Okay, awesome. So let's start with the other one we had, and Heidi, I will not ignore you. FSBOs. Heidi's calling a lot of FSBOs. And so she has a specific objection from those. And so we are absolutely going to get to that also. And she said, so my first thing is getting over that objection. And then as soon as I'm done with that, it's pricing. How do I fight the pricing? So that's why we're going to start there and kind of work backwards. Okay. All right. So how many of you have had a seller want to go lower than what you thought? Josh. Okay.
Had
Great.
one. It was interesting,
One.
but it's okay.
Okay. Stay with me. Stay with me. Because it does happen, you guys, right? You think about what? No way. And it's really funny because if you've never had it and never thought through it, right, you may not know what to do. You're going to be like, wait, what? What? What do I do? All right. So, Josh, what did you do?
Um, they weren't crazy. They're like super reasonable about everything. Like they were just like, I just don't feel like that. Like it was not a big difference. It was like
Yeah.
$5,000. So it wasn't
Great. Okay.
anything
That's helpful.
outrageous.
Yep.
And they just, for their motivations, they were just kind of
Yeah.
like, let's just, I'm fine with that. They were content with it. And I said, you know what,
Yep.
we can do that. And
Yeah.
it's okay.
Okay. And how did the sale go? How'd that strategy pay off, right? Because that was a strategy they chose to go a little bit lower, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they got good visibility and like quite a bit of activity, and we should be closing early.
Okay. Did you guys hear that? Right. So lots of activity, right? Lots of good showings. They were motivated. They had very high motivation to the point that $5,000 was less important to them than getting this exact result, which they got, right? So good job, Josh. Okay. So my rule of thumb is always you never fight them. If they want to go lower, the answer is yes. That sounds great. Because in the history of real estate, here's my experience. Anytime you're showing a higher value to your buyer, it is very likely if they see that, right, they will not kill us as hard on our price. They won't negotiate as hard with us. They'll be much more amicable when it comes to closing and giving us other things we want because they're going to start this transaction off feeling like they already got a deal. Right? And Josh, that's exactly what happened, isn't it? Okay. So use the examples of your experience. Now, you know, you've got a great example to talk about, right? I have heard this exact experience. And when the seller chose to go $5,000 lower because they were highly motivated, because they wanted to act quick, it actually worked out in their favor. They got more showings than we thought. They got an offer quicker than we thought. And we actually closed a lot sooner than we actually thought we were going to. So it ended up making them back that $5,000 way over time. Okay. I'm so glad you had that example for us. That was awesome. Okay, but be ready for that because that will happen at times. Okay.
Good.
Melissa, I'm going to
She
mute
went
you.
down. No, you're good.
Okay. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So be ready for that one if they want to go under. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When you're going into a listing appointment and you've pre-qualified at a high level, you've already asked them what price do they think they want to list their house for? And what price do they think it will sell for? Okay. So that's a key part of having these conversations well, is knowing exactly what you're walking into, right? Because they're going to tell you what they think and why they think that, where they got that information, right? And then you're going to go do the research and you're going to know when you walk in, okay, am I giving them the best news ever, right? Because they think it's a lot lower than what I think they can actually get. And then our decision is, and now how motivated are you, right? Would you'd rather sell it a lot quicker and get what you thought you could for it? Or, right, are we way off the other way? Okay. So one is going to be that way, right? That they come in and say, we want to do it lower. That is very small amount of the time for sure. Be ready for it. However, this other one is the one you have to practice. How many of you have walked in, and especially recently, and a seller has thought their house was worth more than what the market was saying at the time? Mm-hmm. How many of it? It's substantial numbers. Mm-hmm, right? $50,000 sometimes, right? Had you done this 6 months ago? Yeah, right. So you guys have to remember that. That's what we're up against. Okay. There is a lot of emotion in that place. Okay. And so now let's talk about some of the ways that we can sort of handle this objection. Okay. Who wants to be my seller wanting to be overpriced? And I'd love to have a couple of you if you're willing. Yay, Christopher, on it. I like it. Okay. So in this role play, remember, I don't know, Christopher, I don't know if when I'm his realtor, I know everything. I know his motivation. I know the condition of his house. I know all that stuff. Okay. So as I interrupt and ask some questions like that, right, just kind of work with me through that because you guys should know all of this going in. I just need it for the context of our role play. Okay. Okay, so Christopher, I have come in and said that your house is 450 and you are higher. And I don't care how much higher. You go wherever higher you want to go, and we're going to work it back from there.
Yep. Yeah, about 480 is where we want to be.
All right, and let's talk about that. So what do you think where did you get the number 480?
Well, I looked at a couple of the neighbors that have sold,
Okay.
last year.
Mm-hmm.
And our houses are kind of similar. I mean, theirs are a little bit bigger, but
Okay.
I think that they're about the same. And we did some really nice kitchen updates.
Okay. Okay. And when did those sell?
I think the one sold in like last October. I think the other one sold in
Okay.
November.
Of last year?
Yes.
Got it, got it, got it. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to show you some numbers about how different the market is now. Okay. So
Okay.
that's where I would go for an example there. Okay. So, and again, stay with me, guys. Sorry, I'm going to try not to jump around everywhere, but we hopefully would have had that conversation in the pre-qual. Right? So then what I know I'm going to do is pull those comps in his neighborhood. If I don't find them, I'm going to call him back and say, hey, you mentioned 2 comps in your neighborhood. I want to make sure I've got the right houses when we come out to look when I'm at your house on Tuesday. So tell me those addresses again. Because here's what happens, guys. 9 times out of 10, they were sold in 1999. They were not in the last year. First off, they're like, oh, I didn't know it was 20 years ago, right? I thought it was just last year. So, right, get to the real information is my first advice on that. Okay, so then I'm going to go and I'm going to pull, right? What have prices done since then? What have days on the market done since then? If they've gone up, great. What have they done in the last 30 days? Right? So while all in all things are up, then you're going to need to bring some history of what happens with prices and how, in the grand scheme of things, they're naturally always rising. However, if you hit a sale where it's down, right, you're just the little blip that we're in right now. Okay. And then you get the choice, right? So now you understand you're in a blip of the market. And do you need to sell now? If so, here's the price we have to go to. Or you can try to risk and hold out and see if the prices recover. However, here's the history of how long it could take you to recover. Okay. So there's some good things you can use to help support that. Great question, Kelly. I'm going to let you guys answer that, and I will tell you what I have. Do most people bring their computers to show comps, charts, etc., or are they bringing hard copies? Okay, so you guys put in the chat box what you do. Computer. And Kelly, I'd say I have both. Like most of these charts are in my listing presentation, so they'd just be there. And then if I needed to pull up specific things on the computer, I absolutely could. So see, you're getting kind of, Christopher, never trust my computer is going to work. Okay, and then Lacey says both. All right, so whatever works for you is kind of the answer there. And both is probably making sure you've got all bases covered. If you ever had to pull something up that you were like, ooh, I meant to print that for us, but I don't have it. So good job, guys. Okay, so Christopher, the first thing is we've got to make sure when we're pricing in the market of today and not last year's market. Okay.
Okay.
So does that make sense to you? Do you have any questions about that? Why today's price might be different?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So now let's talk about, you said those other so now what we're going to look at is the actual houses we're competing against today. Okay. That's how we're going to know exactly where we need to be priced in competition for what's out there and what the buyers actually have to choose from. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we look at all these, so now I'm going to go through the comps, right? And I'm going to make them, stack them up. I will have just shown him that where his house should be is at 450. Okay. So just play along that I've proven it with the data. Okay. So now, Christopher, you see that as we lay out, it looks like where the market is actually telling us your house should be is right at 450. Now, I know 480 is important to you. So what do you think?
Well, I think would it be okay if we tried 480 for, a while and, and just see, because maybe,
yes,
it's the right house for somebody and they'll pay that.
Absolutely. And that's a really, really great thought. And let me tell you how this works. Okay. So what we're seeing is that the market today is saying 350 or 450, right? Okay, so our strategy now can be, do we want to be just below the market, or do we want to be ahead of the market and trying to get a little more than what the market can do? And what I'm hearing you say is that you'd like to try that second option, right?
I do, yeah. I want the money.
Okay, got it. Okay, and so let's look at the data again. So here's what we see in the market, the properties that push that price a little more tend to have a little bit less negotiating room. Okay. So we may have to negotiate less. Okay. The second thing is oftentimes we have to reduce our price. Okay. So we'll start higher. And then ultimately, as you'll see in these other properties, over the 45 days, they just kept inching down and ultimately ended up at that 450 price.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I really wanted to net 85,000 from the sale, and
Yeah.
at 450 I won't net 85,000.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, and this is where the market can become a real challenge. Okay. Because I totally get that we want to get as much as possible. And again, that could be a reason we're going to try it for 7 to 10 days. Okay. But what we can see in the data is that the houses are moving. So within 30 days, we got to have an offer. Within 15 days, we have to be priced right or we're going to miss the market. Okay. So we can try that. However, here's what I tend to see. Okay. So we take our chances on those 7 to 10 days and see if we can get 380 out of it. And it could end up costing you a lot more in the end. And here's why. Okay. And it's going to cost you more because they've felt like they've overpaid for the comps. Now they're going to expect on the inspection every single thing to be perfect, right? Because now you have a buyer that feels like they've overpaid from the other houses they've seen, right? They've just gone into these other houses we laid out and said, gosh, this one's 30,000 higher, right? So you're creating a buyer that's come in potentially feeling like they've been taken, maybe feeling like they've overpaid, right? And that doesn't start a relationship off great to start with. Does that make sense?
So what you're saying is that people will be like have higher expectations at a higher price.
Yes. And oftentimes it can cost you more money than it saved you on listing it that higher amount. Because if we ultimately, let's look at it this way, if we ultimately have to reduce it to the 450, right?
Mhm.
And then all the buyers see that we had $30,000 out there that we thought we could get more, right? They're going to think, oh, they've got more to play with now. So now they're at 450 and they're desperate now. Let's
Yeah,
go
that's
negotiate with these
true. Yeah.
people. So that's just my experience with it. Now, ultimately, it's completely your decision. However, I just want you to be prepared if we do try that to be really ready to move and find our buyer, or we always have the other option again, right? Of waiting till the market catches up with what you want and not doing anything in this current market.
So would it be better if we went like, let's say 460 or 465, knowing that
Well,
450 is probably where we need to be?
great question. And let's look at the data. Okay, so when you're 15% over, this is where I do the actual percentages. Okay, so what the numbers say is that when you're 15% over, you're only going to have access to 60% of your buyers. Whereas when you're at market value, you're going to have 90%. So is that difference in buyer activity important to you? Are you looking to get the most buyers right away, or is that okay with you? And maybe we'll miss a few.
I think it's okay for a little bit, not
Okay.
for a long time.
Okay. Okay. And what's a little bit?
Like 2 weeks.
Okay. And that scares me. I'll be honest. And here's why. The average days on the market is 30 right now.
Okay.
And what we know is that in our first 4 to 5 days, our first weekend, we are getting our most traffic possible. So if we miss that and sit another week not making a change, it will probably just need to take it off the market versus even trying to reduce at that point and recatch the market.
Hmm. So the other agent that I interviewed said that they
Mhm.
could do that and that it would be fine.
Absolutely. And you can. It's absolutely an option. I'm not saying we can't. I just want you prepared that if we do, you could leave money on the table. And the last thing I want is you coming back saying, you said we could. And then we lost money in the end
Yeah.
because it could happen, right? That's our worst case scenario. Best case scenario is we get it. It all works great. It's just my experience that doesn't typically happen. I haven't had that happen before, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean it couldn't here.
Yeah. All right. Let's
So what do you think? I'm willing to
450,
do whatever you want to do. This is your house and your strategy.
455.9.
I love it. Okay, so let me tell you now. I'm going to go right now. We're getting into search criteria. You're just getting me every which way because think about how the buyers search, right? They're going to search up to 450 and 450 to 475, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Again, I know we really want to go as much over that 450 we can. However, you're going to get those buyers that are searching 425 to 450 and 450 to 475. So we actually have the opportunity to bridge two price points if we're right there on that solid number.
So let me ask you this. So if I say yes, we'll do 450, like what extra things are you going to do to help get the home sold?
Oh, that's a great question. Nothing. I am going to do exactly what you're hiring me for. I am going to get your house sold. I'm going to get you as much money as you can and get it done for you. How's that sound?
All right, let's do 440. Let's do 499.9.
Sign here at 450, please. That was good, Christopher. You got me through about all of them, right? Is that about all the objections you guys hear with overpricing? Right? So they want to try super high. You got to have your data. Okay. Here's the other thing, my listing presentation, and we can do another one on that, has all these graphs in it. Right. So if you're at market value, if you're below, if you're above, what happens if you decide to chase the market down? Right. If you start high and everything keeps reducing, as it does, because you got to show them everything keeps reducing the longer it's on the market. And ultimately, they'll have to make a huge jump to get back ahead of the market, a huge price adjustment. Are they willing to make a huge price adjustment at some point? Right? If not, that's not the strategy. Okay. So you have all the stuff to show, the graphs, the data, the numbers to support this stuff. Okay. So that's what I recommend is this is the kind of stuff you need in your listing presentation. Your marketing plan goes out beforehand, right? When you're actually in the presentation is not when you really want to be talking about marketing, right? They should know everything you're going to do to sell that house and sell it awesome before you walk in there. Okay. Great. Any questions on those? Okay. So Christopher said something else there is he said, are you going to do any marketing different? Right? When I sell your house, come up, right? Come up with something if you want to. But here's what I would say, regardless of what price you're at, here's all the things I'm going to do to sell your house. I'm going to call around the neighborhood. We're going to do open houses. We're going to do, all the things, and make sure you pull up the unique things you do, right? Heavy callers. We were heavy callers. So that was a great selling feature for every one of my sellers and every one of my buyers that hired me. Is I'm going to be calling around neighborhoods every single day trying to find your perfect house and find your perfect buyer, right? So it gave me permission to be on the phone a couple hours a day with my clients, okay? But here's one Christopher said, right? Are you willing to market it higher? And you guys have heard me tell this story, but it's a really good one to have in your pocket, okay? So the price of milk, right? Kroger is selling milk for $16 a gallon. How many of you are going to rush over there to buy Kroger's $16 a gallon milk? And we're not even talking organic milk. This is plain old milk. Okay. No, if Kroger puts those guys out front and, they've got 10 of them everywhere and they're like $16 milk, $16 milk, are you going to buy the milk? No. If they put lights outside, directional signs all over the city, $16 milk at Kroger, $16 milk at Kroger, are you going to buy the milk? No.
No, I'm going to say Kroger's crazy for trying to sell $16 milk.
Exactly. They're losing their mind, and I'm done shopping at Kroger forever. Right? I don't even want to talk to Kroger anymore because they're crazy. Yep. Okay, guys, so that is the exact example. If you are overpricing your house, it does not matter what I do to market it. I cannot sell $16 milk. That is not, I'm not good at it, right? And I would just say that to people like, yeah, That's not my forte. There are other agents that might feel very confident at selling things that they think are higher than the market value. I suck at that. I'm not a $16 milk person. So, right, you can go find an agent that feels confident doing that. Okay. But hopefully that kind of helps you with that, right? If they think it's going to be higher, you're going to do more, right? No, we're not.
Can I ask a really, I hate this question. It's like my least favorite
Yeah.
question in appointments and stuff. And I noticed Christopher did not bring up anything about why don't you just charge me less so I can net closer to what I want to net.
Great. Great. Okay. So let's do that, Josh. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. So interesting, Josh. So you're saying, would I now reduce what you hire me for in order to make up for what you want to overprice your property?
And on the one hand, I know compensation has absolutely nothing to do with the marketability of the home. Like that doesn't change how it looks in the market, but it affects me as the seller.
Right. Absolutely. And are you looking at hiring a discount broker or are you looking at hiring me for my full services?
They can sell it for 460. I don't know.
Okay, awesome. And then I kind of do the numbers, right? So then this is something I was talking to Heidi about with her for sale by owners, right? So I would go and look at discount brokers and I would have the numbers. I would show the list to sale price of discount brokers versus my list to sale price because it'll be right there to show they don't sell it for 460.
But if he sells it and we list it 450 and he charges me less,
Mm-hmm.
it's still a 16 or it's still not the $16 milk,
Okay. So
but
then we have an issue of, are you not feeling like my value is worth more than his value? Do you feel like he and I are giving the exact same value to you?
same results,
Same results. Is it
except
the
I
same
net more.
value? Exactly. Except you net more with me. I'm going to make you more money because here's all the different places I'm going to make you more money. He might get you that 460, right? I might get you 460. If we price it at 450 and the market thinks your house is worth 460, I guarantee you those buyers are going to come through and offer that first and foremost. If they don't think it is, which they're showing me it's not, right? But they don't think it is. And here's all the other places that I make my clients more money. Okay. So, number one, getting a good solid offer right off the bat. We don't typically have to negotiate as much off the bat. So, if you're $10,000 over, it's very unlikely you'll get a list price offer. Okay. So, that's one way you'll probably have to negotiate. Second, right, keep going through all your value, the negotiation of the inspection responses, right? I have great experience in the market. I know these players. I typically say keep my sellers to around 1% of the purchase price or less on their inspection repairs. Whereas what I see as typical is people out there doing about 3%, losing that on their inspection negotiations, right? So that's another place. And you just keep inching down at that $10,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just
And
wanted to play
then
the
here's
bad
the other
guy.
thing. I like it. I like it. Keep going, right? Keep inching down. And then, right, if he's still there, it's the wrong seller. Okay. So then I'm going to say, you know what? I think we're on the wrong pages here because, right, you're not seeing my value. If this $10,000 in my commission, which is all the commission, right? So if we're having $10,000 difference, that's every bit I can have. Like you're basically wanting to hire me for nothing, right? Then you probably aren't my seller. You probably are better with this other agent who really feels more confident that they can get that for you because I'm not sure I could. And Josh, that's ultimately where I'd end up, right? If I gave them absolutely everything and it was just like, it's right here, and they were still set on that. I heard someone, and actually, I'll pull it up for our next call. There was a podcast recently of some agents like on a panel, and one of them was asked that question. Oh my God, how was it asked? And they said something about, are you willing to reduce your commission? And no, I'm just going to bring it next week. I'm not even going to say it because it was too good. I'm going to bring it next week for all of you guys to hear. I'll screw it up. And Hopefully we got there. Okay. So if we missed anything on those objections, that was so good. You guys pushed really, really, really well. Hopefully I got you there, and I'll organize these. Okay. And we'll continue to work on those for the script book. All right. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. And we will do, Heidi, for sale by owners all next week. Deal? Okay. For sale by owners next week. Great place to get business right now.